Gavin.
Axel.
Oh my gosh. I apologize. I've put so much effort into preparing this, and I am absolutely gutted to see that my effort has not paid off. At least not right now. So, Plan B. So, sorry. Let me start this whole thing again in the hope that we shall spare any further technical issues. Not quite what I wanted, but there we go. Sorry, Gavin. Thank you for your comments. So let's start this again properly. Welcome to Climate Action Life. I'm your host, Axel Segerbrecht, and joining me tonight is Gavin Anderson to talk about the spring budget. Gavin is a regular co-host on my show, and I love that he brings facts and figures to the table. The UK Finance Minister, Rishi Sunak, released his statement on how he believes to kick our economy up a gear, help families survive the record cost of living crisis, all while supposedly saving our planet last week. And I'm here to discuss this with Gavin. So, very unfairly, Gavin.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a very loaded question. Yeah. What could Rishi Sunak, apologies for mispronouncing his name, have done better this spring?
It's a bit of where do you start, but what people probably didn't tune in is to hear lots of moaning. What did he do? He took 5 pence off petrol, which I fully understand from the cost of living. Everybody's got to get to work. Not everybody's got an electric car. Not everybody has access to public transport. So good thing. Bad things this week. A 66% stake of the national grid, our electrical national grid, has been sold to a Australian private equity firm this week. And I think we should have probably learned by now that selling off bits of our infrastructure kind of doesn't work. It hasn't worked really that well with water, considering the sewage. Hasn't overly worked well with energy, considering price caps, the massive proliferation of the market with a lot of companies that were just buying wholesale electric. There was no benefit to the consumer. There was no benefit to the environment. So I think selling off part of our national grid, not good. I think also the opportunity at the moment, that the world is bringing us is towards to turn towards renewables, because every day oil and gas are getting more expensive, solar and wind are getting cheaper. So it's I think fortune favors the brave on this. We can sit around and pontificate about not try not to live off Putin's oil, and we can fly to the next dictator and see if we can live off their oil. Maybe we're running out of options of which dictator is going to sell us our oil and gas. Maybe it's really time, because I read a very interesting article, drastic stuff, but somebody was saying about Boris has obviously made the comparisons that this is the biggest crisis since the Second World War. We all need to be stoic and get through it, and
stiff upper lip.
Yeah, all that stuff. And somebody said, well, if we are at war, and the war is about energy and power, why aren't we declaring this a national crisis? Why don't we have factories making solar panels as fast as we can? Why aren't we targeting getting 50% of all domestic houses in the UK insulated by the end of the year? And the list I could witter on for ages. So I think it is an energy crisis for the consumer that's paying for it, but the energy crisis is actually where the energy is coming from. And whether you buy into climate change or not, this is throwing one out there for all the disbelievers. Just the money in your pocket. Do you want to be paying it to Putin, the UAE, or somebody else? Or would you actually like to have your home insulated or have some solar panels and just pay less?
It's almost like we need a campaign to insulate Britain better, and both in the figurative and the practical sense.
Well, that's the way rather than giving everybody, whatever it was, a loan of £200 or whatever, £200. We spoke about this before. 200. If you go down to your, I know lots of people don't have £200 to dispose of, but if you do, and you go down to your local superstore, you will find environmentally friendly insulation. Some not quite so environmentally friendly because unfortunately the strips around the doors do tend to be in rubber. But if you're installing them in your house, it may actually end up lasting 20 or 30 years. So we have to remember the word sustainability in all of this. Plastic is not all bad. If plastic is, it's only single-use plastic is bad for us. So it kind of comes back to, I sound a little bit like a stock record this week. It comes back to insulation. This would be great. 5% VAT rate.
Sorry, I'm finally getting some of the stuff that I prepared for the OBS version of the show onto the screen. I kind of pulled out the three key bits
this is
that
good,
kind of relate to climate change.
But it's good, but it needs to be so much more. It needs to be, if we can subsidize banks when there's a crisis, we should be able to subsidize energy when there's a crisis. It can't. We can't. We're in this slightly ludicrous position where getting this 5% is great, but BP and Shell have both made record profits.
How much tax do they pay? 10%? 7%?
Well,
probably
because
less than that, eh?
the head office of Shell has been enticed back to the UK because there's lower environmental regulations.
Unbelievable.
Well, the government gave them a sweetener to relocate. So, what tax?
And it's all thanks to Brexit now that we can do this, right?
Yeah, we can attract oil companies and get them to have their head offices here because it's because they cannot be prosecuted under a certain EU law, which is actually what got Shell. Shell has left the Netherlands rather than pay the fines for pollution.
Wow.
Shell, the company
and we are giving them tax breaks and various other benefits, I guess. But let's get back to this because 5% or the 5% saving. It doesn't sound like very much. I mean, what is that in real terms for people like you and me?
Oh, it's. I mean, if the only people that will benefit out of this are people that are doing it already. If you were planning to do this the next few months, oh great, I've saved 5%. It's not going to get you.
To be clear, if you put solar panels on your roof, if you convert your system to heat pump rather than gas, and if you are planning to increase the insulation in your house, that's when you save 5% VAT, right? That's what it means.
Yes, yeah, but you can actually get them off the solar panels. And strange enough, a friend of mine got a quote for solar panels, and it was quite a big installation. It was about 18,000, I think the whole installation was with
18,000. What's that in kilowatt hours?
It was enough to run a 3-bedroomed house and a live streaming studio.
Nice. Okay. So, and that cost him how much? £18,000.
£18,000. But here's the kicker. So my friend obviously got it costed in and he worked out how many years and what savings going to be and what the subsidies going to be and everything. And he thought, this all kind of works. And he got a lifetime warranty on it because then you paid a certain amount per month after they were installed and all these things. And he asked finally for the total figure, including, because obviously he wasn't away just to hand over £18,000. He was going to hand over a deposit and then pay X amount. And they said, the total figure, is that you'll be repaying is £34,000.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, because solar panel companies aren't regulated
Well,
for.
hang on. Rewind. How do we get from being quoted £18,000 for solar panels, which sounds to a regular person like me who's renting at the moment, that sounds like a lot,
But if you have
to
a house,
to
3 bedroom
more than
house,
twice that?
yeah, and a big, studio in the garden, that consumes a lot of electricity.
Yep.
But this is the point, the solar, so going back to the question, 5% cut rate for, great. What about regulating, or some level of regulation? Because the
Mm.
problem is that, this is like the early days of, double glazing, unfortunately. And we do have to point this out to people that bang on your door and,
Mm.
offer you the panel, the solution for your solar things. Get 2 or 3 quotes. Do not buy off the first person that bangs on your door, because
Sound advice.
unfortunately, a bit like the double glazing industry, there are some excellent glaziers out there and excellent double glazing companies. There are
Mm.
also some terrible ones. That I shouldn't pick on double glazing, but I think that's an easy analogy for the viewer to kind of, understand.
Yeah.
If you imagine the early days of double glazing, that's what's happening a little bit in solar panels and heat pumps, because you can actually, heat pumps, what, 14,000 to have installed, a lot of money, but you can, knock a third off. Probably average house could knock about a third to 40% off their or off their heating bills with
Mm.
insulation, because a lot of houses are badly insulated, or
Yeah.
they were built at a time where, insulation, wasn't the thing, and I mean, here in the house we've used the recycled newspapers are all in all the brick cavities now. We have the roof insulated.
Recycled newspapers in brick cavities. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's they kind of it's like a big reverse Hoover. They come and drill a hole in your wall and stick pipes in, and basically fill up
Mm.
the brick cavity with old newspapers that are mushed up or dried mussed up. They look like fluff, and this just so we had that done. We could only have 2 sides of the house done, but we had that done. But again, that was probably 350 quid to get it done. It's not a big thing. Somebody comes along for a couple of hours. And
Mm.
that was a number of years ago now. And that would have paid for itself by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably in the plus by now. But in an energy crisis at the moment. And I think the other thing that we should kind of call out this week is, actually, we can move on to your next card in a second. But the final point on this is,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
lots of people are blaming, or there's certain factions that are saying, the price of cost. Well, actually, certain factions. Nigel Farage is one of them leading it. Blaming the cost of living increase on the aim for net zero. Well, what's the price of a lifeboat or a life vest against drowning? We don't really have an option on this net zero thing. I think climate deniers, there's still lots of evidence out there, but as we basked in a 19-degree day this March, in bone dry spring, and we're going to be back to having frosts this week.
It's going to be snow this week, right? That's what I heard.
There is, yeah.
Somebody said to me it's going to be snowing. I looked out of the window saying it's 15 degrees and sunny. Really?
Yeah, no, in Scotland there's going to be snow later this week, on mid to higher ground. So yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
so what was your next point on the?
No. Before we move on, I've got one more
Okay,
point.
okay.
I'm just letting people know about that we've kind of changed because it kind of stopped the original live stream. So I'm just doing that. I'm multitasking, and you know me, I'm not that great with multitasking, but I do try.
Okay.
Let me know this doesn't work. That does work.
There
I
we
had
go.
one more thing. I had one more thing to add to this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I live in rented accommodation, like I was saying earlier. Like quite a lot of people, I guess. I am at the what's the right English word for this? At the
Mercy.
behest,
Yeah,
behest of
the
my
behest of
landlady or
yeah.
landlord. The person who owns the property, and she's lovely, lovely old woman, pensioner. This is her pension basically that I'm paying.
Yeah,
And she is very great. She's awesome. Whenever there's something, she makes sure it gets seen to it. But the house isn't terribly well insulated. I think it's a C or D rating. It's got old double glazing, and it's the loft is insulated, but in a not so cool way. Um, Putting in a heat pump would be great, but she just renewed the boiler, so she just splashed out on a new boiler.
yeah,
Suggesting to her to increase the insulation, not going to fly, because she will say, "I've insulated my roof. You've got double glazing. Yes, it's an old building from whenever. You're not going to get an A for it." I suggest let's get a heat pump because we've got a big garden and it will be easy to put in there. No, you just got a new boiler, sod off. That's
yeah,
what I would say if I were her. Not saying
yeah.
that I have asked her. To be fair, I have not asked her yet, and I won't, because I can imagine this, how I would feel as a landlord. I would say, hell no, that's like 30,000 pound investment, and for 5% VAT off. No, I'm not going to do that, because I'm making my 11-12% a year on this. This is silly. So I think in real terms, it doesn't help unless you've planned to do this anyway and you were holding off and you're going, what could, if only somebody came along and knocked a few percentage points off this bill. But I think for tenants especially, and there's a lot more tenants in the big cities, obviously, we have no say in this and we have no benefit of this. And I doubt that anybody, unless they're already kind of building this into their plans, will see a benefit. So I think it's a red herring. I think it's just a nice soundbite, but it's not going to have real effects anywhere.
Well, this is one. Just to, I'll drop this in the chat. Uh, this is a
Oh, in the
public chat.
private chat.
Okay, I'll drop in the private chat. And you can do it. This is an article from October 2021,
Okay.
where Italy are offering homeowners 110% of the cost of eco-proofing their homes.
Oh
And
yes, I did come across that.
and this is the one of the big things that they're doing. And you know they kind of said, well, this is crazy post-COVID economy. This is it
Oh,
can't
you
be the
can't see
sensible
it now.
thing to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, we can see that now. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was pressing share screen without realizing I have to enable the source first. Typical moment. But yeah, this is a great point. It's like Italy, and I think there were some other countries as well that have invested quite heavily
Yeah.
into enabling their population, their citizens, to actually afford
And what this
making
has
it
actually
more
done,
environmentally friendly.
but this is done more because it's all about economics. So
Mm,
what's happened here is lots of people that need properties done up or need properties repaired are kind of going, okay, so if we change our windows and change the insulation and do this and do that, okay.
mm.
And this is, I think it's the limit is either 100 or 100, I think it's either 100 or 150,000 euros per house.
Which is the
So
price of a house.
yeah, so if you're going to get up to £100,000 worth of insulation paid for by the government, your landlady would do that. Everybody would do it.
Mm,
And what suddenly then happens is the uh, the money that's spent. Obviously, what they're doing in the post-COVID is this money will be spent on people in Italy making things to fit to Italian houses, and Italian builders will be so. The pouring of this money into the economy not only reduces the overall, it does everything, reduces the overall load that Italy power that Italy has to generate. So
mm,
therefore, they're knocking off some of their kind of future investment. They're also heading towards the decarboning targets, and also it's putting money into the economy, and the money is dropping down to builders, painters, installers, architects. Because what is triggering is some people are saying, well, because I actually watched a documentary on it, and
Hmm.
the guy decided to do his granny's house, and his granny lived in this slightly tumble down cottage. And he spoke to her about it, and she said, "Yeah, up for that." And then, so basically, it's literally, he's in. So the house is now, double the width of the walls. They put in triple glazing. It's all insulated. They put in a heat pump thing, the whole 9 yards. His mum now has this amazing, or she's an elderly lady, has this amazing.
Mm.
She's happy. She's got a great place. He's invested in the property that he's probably going to inherit from his mum at some point. So he's happy with it. He's installed the local people to come and do the painting and the work in the house. So they're quite
Mm.
happy. And the environmental footprint, is down. So from a government target point of view, and also that house will use, because as your houses expand, obviously you have to expand your infrastructure to support the houses. But if you can actually get the houses that you're using to use 10, 20, 30% less energy as a country, that then is less energy that you have to generate. So from an economic point of view, this is actually a win-win-win.
For everybody, yeah.
I mean, it sounds a
Exactly.
really crazy idea, because you say, well, aren't you going to bankrupt the country by doing this? Well, no. What you will
I
bankrupt the
think
country.
if COVID has shown me anything, is that if there is a will in the government, um, in whichever country, I guess, but let's
Yeah.
say stick with the UK. If there's a will to make a change, make an investment, whether it's the health service or buying PPE off your mate and then bidding it. Sorry, I'll stop. That is money. That is always money. If you wanted to raise the wages for key workers, there's money for it. If you want to train more people, there's money for it. If you want to help people survive this massive increase in the cost of living, that is money for it. It's the political will that is missing. So,
Here's another one for you back in the UK.
mhm.
So this is, I don't know if you know about this, the green. This is through Eon, but other electric companies can go
Exist.
bankrupt on you.
Please don't.
Uh,
I'm with So
um,
Energy, and I'm they're okay in terms of not going bankrupt. I think they're
well,
still invoicing, taking money out of my account, so they must still be live.
this is the green grant, and
Hmm.
if your house has an efficiency rating of D1, E, F, or G, and there's a link on this website so you can go and find out what your rating of your house is. And if
Hmm.
your household income is less than 30,000, or someone in your house receives universal credit income support, you can actually apply for an application form for a Greens Home grant that will
Hmm.
actually have fully funded fully funded
Insulation.
installations. So yeah, it's as per usual. There's going to be lots of hoops to jump through, but if you are in energy poverty, and you actually and your own income support, and you're in one of those
Mm.
houses, there's something there. I mean, I don't know what the sting in the tail is, because normally you have to pay something, but you I urge your kind of because I think this one's capped at 10,000, but still, that's not going to get you your whole boiler. But to the point of if you're panicking about your electric bill, and you're on benefits,
Mm.
and this, you can get some money to spend in your house. You can actually get some money for insulation or double glazing. I'm not sure the exact details of it, but uh, there's a
That's about.
number of
Well,
them.
I'll put the link in the post, so it'll be up there. Actually, let me do that now. There we go. Convert to link. Yes, thank you. It's going to be on the website and in the description if you're looking for the stuff we just looked at. I'm not sure whether it was part of this announcement, this statement that he made, but there was this one-off. You mentioned it earlier, Gavin. This one-off payment of £150 or something to help
I
people with their bills.
Yeah, I
It's
think
it's it's a loan, right?
Yes,
You have
as
to
well.
repay
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Let me have a
So
look at
he's
it.
he's not really helping because the 150, just for illustration, um, my electricity bill, and I get 100% green energy from So Energy, and I get gas, which sadly is not green, no matter what labels you slap on it.
Yeah,
You know, my average bill is about, I think my direct debit is about 120 something odd, and that's for a 2 bedroom, well, two and a half bedroom house. So 150 quid that I have to give back when energy companies are, you know, barely paying any tax and making record profits is an insult. It makes me very cross.
yeah. I'm trying to find. It's £200.
It's
So the
200
one
pounds. Okay.
repayable it's termed as a £200 discount off household bills.
How is it a
Um,
discount if you have to give it back though?
oh, you get the some will actually get to 350. Um, and then you have to pay it back by £40 a year over 5 years. Oh, that's what it is. If you're a council taxpayer in bands A to D, you receive a rebate of 150. If you're in the lower brackets, you get the higher one.
And can you opt out of this? Is this mandatory?
No, but it's a usual thing that because I don't qualify for it because
You have too much money.
I have businesses, so my business, I earn even though
You're
it's in dividend, I earn,
self-employed.
yeah,
So
well,
this
I
is
earn above
hitting
the threshold.
self-employed people as well. By not, it's hitting you in so far that you're not able to benefit from it, but it's also not helping those who can benefit from it because it's actually just a lot of hot air. In fact, hot air might actually be welcome because you can heat your house with it. So you have
Yes, you
some
do.
money left to feed your children. It
You
makes
do.
me very, very cross, Kevin. Shall we move on to talk about fuel duty?
Yes,
Because
yes,
that's got a climate change impact as well, hasn't it? Rishi
yeah,
Sunak, and I will never pronounce his name right, and there's a whole reason probably why my brain won't let me pronounce his name right because of
yes.
all of the other stuff. Ukraine. um, Fuel duty will be cut by 5p from 57.95p per litre. What? What? You go to the forecourt. Where is this figure coming from? Following the surge in petrol prices, uh, sorry, is this the duty we're talking about? 57.95p for those
That's
just
tax per
that's
liter.
tax, right? That's so when I
Tax.
go to the forecourt like I did the other day, because I drive a hybrid often, you know, occasionally I should say, not often, but occasionally I drive further than just around Milton Keynes, so I needed to put some petrol in. 164, I think, pence per litre is what Esso demanded for their finest. Well, it wasn't their finest, it was their regular E10 95 octane, I think. And a large chunk of what I was paying was fuel tax, and they're reducing that for 5p, and that reduction will last for 12 months. Now, that's what's stopping people like Esso or BP from putting up the price over the next 12 months by 5p? Is this actually a drop in the bucket in the
Oh,
ocean, or
it is
whatever
massively.
the saying is?
I think the saving on an average tank is about £3.50, and
Hmm.
as they said on the Now Show this week, that you can actually buy if you have three passengers with you, can each buy them a Twix on your saving.
Per journey.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
still
no,
sadly
no,
sounds
not per
more
journey.
when you
Not
put it
per
like
journey.
this.
It's per fill up, not per journey. Per fill up.
Okay, let's put it in context with a journey to London by train from Milton Keynes or something that costs about 50 quid. It doesn't. I think it costs 30 or 40 quid depending on when you travel, but it probably is if you have a rail card. It might be less, but the point I'm making or trying to make is that's actually a better deal. It sounds better than going by train to London because you don't get a seat unless you get up really, really early or you're
No,
really
no,
lucky.
I've
And
invested
you get a
my network.
Twix with this. So I think that he's actually onto something. He's keeping people on the roads. I'm being facetious here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it is really annoying me. He's reducing fuel duty by 5p, which is worth a
Okay.
Twix. It's a drop
You,
in the bucket. And what he could have done, and really love to hear your opinion on this, Kevin. What he could have done, in my opinion, is he could have knocked 50p off a season ticket, or per mile, whatever, however those things are calculated. He could have reduced the cost of sustainable travel, make it
yeah.
more attractive for people to take the train. I remember driving up to Bolton for business or other places, and by train, wow, that was painful. It is cheaper to go by car and more flexible, and probably less stressful, depending on when you travel.
I think also the other I got my Network Rail Saver card,
Mhm.
uh, which is £14.30 return to London off peak. So, right, do you want me to? Right, I think I need to. Right, fun fact time. It's not fun facts. I'm going to blow your mind with some
Go for it.
facts.
Do you want to
Right.
share your screen if you have something to share, or
No, no, no. I'm going to get
no?
you to
Okay,
write this down. Then I'm going to
I'm
stun you in
I'm
silence.
sitting tight. Go
Okay.
for it. Hit me.
2008, $99.67 a barrel.
Hang on, I'm not that quick, and I just managed to destroy a link that I posted in here. So 2009,
No, 2008,
or
crude
2008.
was $99.67 a barrel.
Yeah.
In 2018, it was $71.38 a barrel.
Wait, what? Okay.
In 2020, at one point, it hit $41 a barrel to go up in 2021 to $70 a barrel. And today, the resting price at the end of today's trading was $103 a barrel. So why
So,
have I quoted lots of numbers at you? If you think between 2008, so 15 years ago,
mm,
the cost of production, finding it, has gone down. The cost of moving it has gone down. The cost of refining it has gone down. What's happened to the cost of what goes into our car? You think
I,
what you were paying in 2008 for a gallon of petrol compared to what you're paying. The point I'm making is normally raw materials and goods there's a direct link between the cost. Yeah. If
yeah.
it costs somebody 10p to make a potato, they're going to sell it to you for 12 or 15p. If it costs them
Mm,
15 to make a potato, they're going to sell it to you for 17p. There's a very, there is not this correlation between and not a lot of people actually understand this unless they actually look at the prices over a few years. The correlation between the retail forecourt and what we pay in crude is oil companies have been making more and more and more profits in the last decade, to be peaking out in the last couple of years, to be making eye-watering profits. And remember, BP have made their whatever it is £40 billion profit after paying off the oil spill in America.
mm.
So going back to your thing of the 5p tax, I think we're being lifted for a little bit more than that.
It's why did he do it? Is this just are both of these sound bites that are relating to
Yeah.
the environment, I guess, in the cost of living to some extent? Are they just the bare minimum? He's like, it's like, a student desperately trying to finish the essay that was due in the morning over coffee just before the class starts, and it's like, what can I put in? What can I put in? All right, I'm gonna do 5p off for 12 months. They love that because everybody loves cars, and
Yeah.
something eco, something. Oh yeah, I know. We do this 5% VAT. I can see a theme appear. It's 5.
Mm.
He is a big fan of the number 5.
Yeah.
5 years of pain. 5. There's a song in there somewhere. I'll leave it at that.
So, in summary, to your 5p off, it is very welcome. People need it, but actually, it could have been so much more, because I personally find that 60 pence a litre taxation, that's a lot of taxation on fuel. Considering that we've had a number of people write to the government about taxing high net worths. We've even got high net worths writing to the government about taxing high net worths.
Yeah, there's a whole group of us. I've seen there's a whole group of was it Millionaires for Britain or something who've written. I saw this earlier today in my lunch break, and I was like, "What? Wait, the millionaires in this country feel that they should be paying more tax because what the heck is going on here? It's crazy." I mean, about the 5p, he could have reduced more, and I actually think it should be. He should have not reduced fuel duty. He should have reduced it for businesses, maybe just to help struggling, small businesses, especially delivery business, perhaps. But I think on the whole, instead of reducing fuel duty, he should have probably increased it. But on the other hand, he should have probably made it a lot more affordable for businesses to go green, buy electric vans, use eco fuels or more sustainable fuels like hydrogen, perhaps, or even biodiesel or whatnot.
Unfortunately, we don't have that government in power at the moment.
Of course, we don't. I'm just saying, I think we need to, in order to combat climate change or the effects of climate change that are really going to kick us in the teeth way more than they have done for the last 5 years, and people have started to wake up to this reality of, oh yeah, they might be onto something. Well, we've been told that for like 100 years, but he's done nothing. Basically, he's done nothing to go along with he's done nothing to support the Prime Minister, who I remember vividly standing up in front of a bunch of people at COP26 talking about how Britain is going to be, green economy, this, and rebounding from COVID, that, and how we're going to be the world's leading economy that's going to be all green and sustainable and fluffy haired like he is. And Richie Sunak comes out with, meh.
Yeah, well, he's a man that has 12 houses. How many people need 12 houses? And also, we're slightly skipping over, his 400 million pound shares in Infosys, who are still operating in Russia, which he transferred into his wife's name just before he became an MP. So his wife holds the whole 706 million.
Has she been sanctioned yet?
No, I think she's still allowed to use the swimming pool and the tennis courts.
Oh,
I think she's still allowed to visit all 12 houses. I think
that's fine.
Sorry, gag being that in lockdown, when we were all making things for our neighbours and clapping at the door and doing as much as we could, the lovely Mr. Sunak installed a outdoor heated swimming pool. I hope you know. And 2 tennis courts in his mansion.
I think one could say that the Telegraph, and I'm paraphrasing here, would probably say, well, I'm not even paraphrasing. It's probably a headline there somewhere. The Telegraph would probably print, Richie Sunak supports local economy by making a swimming pool green or something like that.
Right. Local swimming pool manufacturers.
Exactly.
That puts in an outdoor heated pool that's heated by electricity, no wind, so nothing like that. I mean, really, where were the days where people were giving example, leading by example?
Well, anyway, they are giving an example at the moment, and Richie is giving an example. How not? I think they're all giving us a great example of how not to be, especially if we're just sticking to the topic of climate change. This is how not to act on climate change. This is how not to back up your words with actions. This is the opposite of taking action on climate change. This is taking a not even a la-di-da kind of. It's not taking anything. It's just going there. It's like, yeah,
Well,
we
another
talked
fun
about
fact.
it. Yeah, hit us with some more facts. Come on.
Okay, fun fact. While we're on the budget,
Mhm.
Rishi Sunak is the richest chancellor we've ever had in history, even going back to medieval times.
Good for him.
He's also the richest MP that we've ever actually had serving in the House of Commons, and the richest, and this is a high bar, the richest cabinet minister we've ever actually had.
Wow, it's
And
like
that's a
Pop
high
Trumps.
bar. Well, I think last time, certainly one of Boris's, because I can't remember how many's in the cabinet, is it 12, 16? I know that there was 11 of them in the cabinet, and it might still be true. I think there's about 2/3 to 3/4 of the cabinet, are millionaires.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be a millionaire to be in the cabinet, right? Isn't that a requirement somewhere? Didn't the Queen say only rich people can be part of the cabinet that's in actually my government? Or being facetious again?
Yeah.
Probably. Okay, I've
Okay.
got some figures for you, Gavin. I've
Okay.
got another figure. Let me hit you with a truth bomb.
First,
Well, it's a quote. What?
Sorry, that was that. I left my phone on because you were messaging me earlier
Oh,
when there
sorry.
were technical issues. And
Google, what's the weather like?
Google, I just switched it down now.
You
Google is
switched it up.
answering you. I'm not quite sure why Google suddenly took a liking to you, but yeah.
I have to be. It knows me. That's what usually happens when computers hear me. Although my own computer didn't want to listen to me today, so sod it.
Everything's going to be all right now, Axel.
Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to switch to Linux. I'm going to have a sustainable laptop next.
We're
Forget
showing our
about
age.
Apple.
If
I am.
there's already young people watching it, they'll be going, "What was that reference to?" Stanley Kubrick, 2001, friendly that was watching.
Yes, thank you for that.
Sorry.
I could go off on one about sustainability in electronics, but that's probably a topic for another day.
Yeah.
I found this quote. The OBR, which
Yeah.
is the office... I don't even know what OBR stands for.
It's what the OBR... Well, I know what the OBR
Statistics
is.
Office, isn't it?
Yes, the OBR actually monitors and reports on our the average value, average basket, average incomes, average.
This is why. It's the Office for Budget Responsibility. Sorry, everyone, I found it. It was a quick DuckDuckGo search away. The Office for Budget Responsibility, great name, said on Wednesday that the forecast that energy bills will rise by 40% again in October if wholesale gas prices remain at the same level they are now.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like, hang on, how can they rise when the wholesale levels remain the same? What's going on here?
Because the price cap, there's a limit to how much they can move the price cap. So the price cap is not fully covering some of the wholesale costs. So the price cap has to move again. But I think under the current mechanic, the price cap could only be moved, I think it's 54% will be the increase, which still means that you cut... technically, energy suppliers will be making a loss on what they're buying and selling raw energy for, which means that it will probably go up again in October, and the average house will have a £3,000 a year electric bill.
But if they're making a loss, how can they make record profits?
Different companies. There's BP and Shell, so the raw materials. The price cap are the energy companies, so they're the ones. Because what hasn't happened, very, very short explanation of,
please,
or what you need to say, Axel, is why exactly have we got into this energy crisis, Gavin?
Okay, that's a great question. How exactly did we get into this energy crisis, Gavin?
I'm really glad you asked me that, Axel, because in the deregulation and lots of small energy companies popping up, what used to happen was what's called hedging. Hedging means that you buy futures. You've heard of hedge funds?
I have,
They,
yeah.
so what you actually did, so when you're buying your units of gas or oil at, let's say, $50, you look into the future and you go, oh, do I think it's going to go up or do I think it's going to go down? And if you think it's going to go up, you hedge. So you will buy futures, and you might
It's
buy,
basically a betting, isn't it?
yeah. But
It's like
what? But in an
going to a
energy,
casino and saying it goes up, it goes down, 50 on red, that kind of stuff.
no, because what you're doing is if somebody's willing to sell it to you, you're buying at today's rate. You're buying, so you've got a longer. So hedging, obviously, the opposite of if you hedge and you think the prices go up, the price goes down, you get into a lot of trouble for it. So suddenly, all these little electric companies that started popping up, all the, the bulbs and the octopuses, and there are many, many other companies that can go bankrupt on you, or can supply electricity to you even.
Mm.
Um, they stopped hedging because hedging's an expensive thing. If you get it wrong, it costs you a lot. But what hedging was doing was making sure it created a stability of price because you were buying futures. Everybody's buying futures. And so the practice of hedging stopped. So everybody's just buying it off the market. So you could have set up an electric company under the deregulated model. You could have gone and bought wholesale electric and subcontracted out to the Milton Keynes area or whatever. You'd have been buying it in X and selling it at Y, making a small margin on it. That was the model. But the problem is if you took the hedging out of it, because that's why you needed big electric companies. Electric companies shouldn't be 6 people in Reading in a call center, and a logo of a fish or something. That's not really an electric company. An electric company or power company is looking at what energy is being consumed, what energy needs to be consumed, hedging the futures on the energy. And this, costs lots and lots of money. But the problem is if you suddenly deregulate it, what happens is all these little companies with their funky little logos were making good profits, and then the costs went above the profits. They had no hedging, collapsed overnight, and that hit the consumer. So again, we're back to economics. You know me, it's all about economics. It's all about, my favorite saying, who pays the ferryman? You don't get from one side of the river to the other unless somebody pays the ferryman, either in debt or in cash or in kind or barters with them or does something. Nothing happens for nothing.
Sure.
And I think these economic drivers, it's for me, it's kind of important or when I give somebody like that a long-winded answer as to what's wrong with the energy market, they go, so why was that allowed to happen? Well, it was deregulation. It was years ago. You can trace it probably back to some of the Thatcherite privatizations. Well, wasn't that silly to do? Well, yeah. So the situation, and this is actually where it all boils down to. We started tonight talking about the impact of the budget and all this. The reason we are in the price situation with or the energy crisis, let's call it at the moment, is all down to money. It's all down because you know what? Coal still costs the same as what it cost 6 months ago. Gas is going up more, but the raw cost of taking out of the ground has not increased. It's not like you need 3 miners for each piece of coal now. It's not like we need 3 more boats per
I'm surprised we
load
still
of
have
energy.
minus anyway, but I'm not a financial expert and I'm not into this. That's why I'm glad you're on the show to kind of help us navigate this. But as a regular John, as I was called earlier, so in the context of picking up my daughter's bike from the shop, never mind. As a regular person, none of this makes any sense. All I'm seeing is that I'm still suffering from this immense increase in the cost of living, whether it's food prices. I've compared my shop the other day to a shop I did about a year ago because I'm doing online shopping. This is a lot easier now.
Yeah.
It's I wouldn't say it has doubled, but it's certainly increased by a significant amount. I don't know the exact percentage, but it
Yeah,
definitely is has gone from about 60 to about 80,
yeah,
whereas about 5 years ago was about 40,
yeah. I mean,
roughly.
well, we've been, the underlying rate of inflation is what, 6% or something, or 7% at the moment. But
Mm,
when you actually look at the inflation per sector, the inflations are actually hitting food. It's. I went out the other week for a walk. Mark was up and we went for a walk along. Anyway, we stopped at
the
a pub.
countryside. Hmm.
Yeah, we stopped at a little pub. We had 2 bottles of beer, 2 coffees, 2 portions of chips, 1 starter, and Max, because he was starving as he always is. Max is my son.
Of course.
Had a huge kind of dirty burger. So basically, 1 main, 2 chips, 2 coffees, 2 beers, and 1 starter. £66.50. And
Ouch.
that was just
That's
that
country
wasn't
pubs for you, though.
well. There's a pub that will remain nameless because they're a nice pub. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they're all suffering the same. But the point being that going out to eat now is everything's just that bit more.
I bet that kind of meal would have cost you in the same place probably 40 quid a few
Yeah.
years back.
Well,
And I think climate change is going to make our food supplies less plentiful. It makes it more expensive. It makes
yeah,
it just adds to this, and then we've got inflation, and we've got the fact that our government decides not to act on the cost of living increase, let alone, and this is the kicker for me, if we're talking about getting people to be eating more sustainably, giving up meat maybe once a week, and just buying toothpaste pills rather than or tablets rather
yeah,
than those things, making all these little changes. I mean, that's how it's crazy. You can't afford to feed yourself, even as a burgeoning middle class person.
yeah,
Um, how can you be living more sustainably when people are going to food banks to pick up value? There was a big thing the other day about the value range. I think it was at Asda or somewhere, and certain products being removed and prices going up, and it's like, wow, we have a problem. We have a massive problem. And then the stuff that we should be encouraging people to do, they're not even going to consider that unless they have more than enough money to go like, yes, okay, I'll spend another 120 quid this week with Ocado. Not dissing Ocado, great place, by the way, and full of really good vegetarian, vegan kind of choices. But Jesus, how can we get people to live more sustainably when they are struggling just to pay, keep the lights on, as we say in IT?
yeah, yeah. No,
Quite
that
literally keeping the lights on because they can't afford the electricity.
well, I was talking to my sister about this, and basically, it takes about 2 or 3 wage packets to work through an impact of pricing
Mm,
change. And the thing is, people are sitting there going, "Well, I've heard all about this energy thing. It's all scary, but it hasn't happened to me yet." In a minute, it is going to 1st of April, prices go up. So end of
yeah.
April, first wage packet. End of May, second. End of March, third. So by July or August, people will really be kind of going, well, hang on a minute, because all the energy, food, everything will have kicked in fairly hard, including not getting the wage rise, or hopefully,
Mm.
let's hope that people do get a wage rise, but they may not get a wage rise due to inflation and cost increases. I think the at the moment we're talking about what's hurting. In July we're going to be feeling. Unfortunately, we're going to be feeling what's hurting.
Is it that that's a sorry, that's a scary point you're making there.
Yeah.
Is that timed to coincide with the school holidays?
No, no. I think it's just the way it's going. The unfortunate thing, it's timed with hot summers and
Mm,
hot summers and annoyed public. I think it was a few years ago. I think we'd gone to Spain for the summer, and I remember
mhm.
turning on the TV and seeing kind of riots and stuff, thinking, what happened?
God, that's a while ago. The London riots.
Yeah. Well, they spread to a few different places, but yeah, they it's when you get
We need
large.
more riots, Gavin.
Well, of course, we do not endorse violence in any way whatsoever. Legal protest is the only way of doing it.
Yeah,
but I think
don't be like Will Smith.
if I was going to do predictions, and sadly enough, I predicted the 6% inflation of this year about June of last year, because you could see it happening because of the policies that were coming and the changes was going to happen. So actually, this doesn't really have that much to do with the war in Ukraine. Yeah, and I think
it's an easy scapegoat, though, isn't it, for everything that's wrong? It's like, oh, food prices are up. Oh, yeah, that's because the bread basket is, they're at war right now.
Yeah, it's going to affect things, but it's not. What we're seeing is in the UK, exports down 21% year on year. 21%. That's a huge amount. I don't care whether they want to try and kind of kick over the dust on it. The problem that we actually have at the moment is costs are increasing. Admin is going up. You want to send anything out of the country? Well, I've stopped having to purchase and things from America. It's just too difficult, weirdly enough. A lot of European stuff I can't buy now. I spoke to a company. I found a thing online, a car part that I was looking for. Contacted them. Really nice chat. Great customer service. Contacted on WhatsApp. Oh, which country? Right. I'm in the UK. Sorry, it's just too problematic with the paperwork. Yeah, I'm sure we'll start doing it again someday, but it's just not economical. So, what are we seeing today? Going back to the budget, we're actually seeing the UK does have a higher inflation rate due to the food costs and our exports, and I can't see anything on the. God, it's a depressing point to finish on, but I can't. Apart from having a lovely summer, I can't really see anything that is going to move the marker economically for the UK. We have the highest debt of all time, highest personal taxation of all time. Biggest or 13% hike in national insurance. We're just going to see personal debt rising, which we are already, and the last time personal debt rose, it rose from the late 90s, 97, 98 onwards. And then what happened in 2008? The financial crash. Fueled by subprime mortgages because they'd borrowed all the good money, then they'd borrowed bad money after the good money, then borrowed some more money after the bad money and the good money. And then when they hit the bottom of the barrel, it was like, I don't know, these are worth nothing. And then if they're worth nothing, that's next one's worth nothing. The next one's worth nothing. Topple onto a crash. And if I was in Rishi's shoes, apart from they wouldn't fit me because I'm about 6'1". Sorry, height gag there. That's really inappropriate. But I do love how they all photograph Richie from a low angle. Nothing against short people at all whatsoever. But just be proud, own it. Don't always be standing on a box and
as long as he doesn't do what Kim Jong Un or whatever his name is, Kim Jong Un. I can't remember the guy who the North Korean dictator fella. He's built massive rockets because he's so small. I think that's the real reason behind it. Intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Right. We're on 59 minutes.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up.
Today. You can probably hear my voice is going to be busy all week this week. I'm back in London later this week. Big celebration for Just Carbon launch. We're getting all the trustees from the foundation together. We're now on Uniswap. We're now on CCX Earth. We'll be on Chintai in the next few days. Yeah, so we're rolling out the carbon offsetting is rolling out, and slowly but surely we're moving forward. So it's going to be really nice to see the team in town this week, and yeah, have a little night off.
Congratulations! That sounds fantastic.
That should be nice.
Gavin, that's a positive note to end on. I'm also going to try and end on a positive note if we can find the script that I wrote. There we are. That's all for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show and found it helpful. Don't forget you can watch or just listen to a recording of it on my website. Visit climateactionlife.show and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And please share, like, or hit the dislike button if you didn't like it. And yeah, just help me use the algorithm of Google that runs everything to reach more people. Tune in next week when I'll be joined by Jam Jar Jill to talk about more tips and tricks on how to be more sustainable. And you can join the discussion live on the show, hopefully with less technical problems in the new format from 8 p.m. UK time. See you next Monday for more action on climate change. Good night.